Hold on. Okay, guys, welcome to the Brandon Show. So today we are going to be looking at the Congress system. So we are going to first explain what the Congress system was, and then after we explain what the Congress system was, we are going to explain the congresses or where the meetings which took place and it. So we are going to explain the achievements, and we are also going to explain the failures or the weaknesses of the what of the Congress system. So first of all, I would like to thank all my followers. Thank you, and I will keep on giving this good information, good educational videos, so that you learn, you succeed, and we all be happy. So now I'm going to start by explaining what the Congress system is. So the Congress system, it was a system whereby the Allied powers had to meet and discuss the problems that had to do with what? With Europe, or they had to meet and discuss the future problems that were going to take place in what? In Europe. So under the Congress system, we see that there was what was called the Quadruple Alliance. The Quadruple Alliance, it took place in 1815. It took place in 1815. It was formed by England, Prussia, Russia, and Austria. So it aimed at promoting peace and cooperating of great powers. So they agreed to meet regularly if there was an international problem in what? In Europe. So that was the main aim, or I would say the main objective of what? Of the Congress system. They wanted to solve future problems that were likely to occur in what? In Europe. So there was what was called the Holy Alliance. So the idea of the Holy Alliance came with Russia through Tsar Alexander. So Tsar Alexander was the one who came with the idea like, guys, so let's do this, what is called the Holy Alliance. What is the Holy Alliance about? So the Holy Alliance, it was all about that all statements, all head statement, all the leaders of the country, the leaders in Britain, the leaders in France, the leaders in Austria, Prussia, they had to rule their countries using the Christianity principles. So I'm going to give on more information on the Holy Alliance. So it is said that most countries in Europe, they signed this Holy Alliance, even though it was criticized. So we see that the Holy Alliance was criticized by the likes of Castlereagh from Britain, and it was also criticized by who was known as Metternich from France. So Metternich was quoted saying that the Holy Alliance was a loud sounding nothing, and he concluded saying that the Tsar's mind was affected, so was clearly affected. So this is Dennis. This was this, you can see this on Dennis Richard, page 65. And so, as I have said before, Dennis Richard is of the view that every sovereign in Europe signed it, with the exception of the Pope and Sultan George III. So Sultan George III and the Pope, they are the only people who didn't sign the Holy Alliance. So I'm going to proceed and talk about the congresses which took place, or the meetings which took place under the Congress, the Congress system. So you listen attentively. So I'm going to explain first on the Congress known as the Aix-la-Chapelle. So the Aix-la-Chapelle was I would say the first reasonable Congress whereby the Allied powers met. So this Congress was summoned by a guy from France known as Richelieu. So Richelieu was the one who summoned for the Aix-la-Chapelle Congress to take place. So why was the Aix-la-Chapelle called to take place? So the Aix-la-Chapelle, what happened is that France had fully paid its reparations. Or when we say reparations, is that when a country go to war, when the country is have done fighting, we see that the defeated country have to pay the reparations, or to pay as a as a way that it have been defeated, and they have to give back the things which it have what destroyed. So defeated countries have to pay. Those are reparations. So what the Axela Chapelle was summoned so that France could also be recalled as the what as the great power again, and so that the army which was stationed at the French borders to control whether the reparations were being paid was what was to be removed. So that's why exactly this what Axela Chapelle was called out. So we also see that on the Axela Chapelle, the Britain also brought the idea of the abolition of slave trade, but they didn't agree on certain terms. So let's went on and look at another congress. So we have the congress known as the Congress of Troppau, which was in 1820. So this was called because there were revolutions in Spain, Germany, and Naples. So in Spain, revolutions have broke out and against Ferdinand the Seventh, and we also see that in Naples, a revolution broke out against Ferdinand I. So Ferdinand I, we see that the people were revolting against the Ferdinand I, and was also revolting against the Ferdinand VII of Spain. So the Congress of Troppau was called out as to solve these problems. And we also see that in Germany, it is said that students were revolting against the influence of Metternich, of Austria. So on the third Congress, on the third Congress, we see that we have the Congress of known as the Congress of Leipzig. And at this Congress, so the Congress was of the view that they needed to crush revolutions, and they needed to crush the revolutions in Naples and restore Ferdinand to the throne with full despotic powers. So they wanted to restore those Ferdinand. So they wanted Ferdinand the one of Naples. They wanted to restore him on the throne. They also wanted to restore Ferdinand the Seventh. He was nicknamed the Old Spider because his methods were old-fashioned. So that's all about the Congress of Leipzig. It has small terms so that that's easy to understand. So where I'm going to explain on the Congress of Verona. So what was the Congress of Verona? The Congress of Verona was called to deal with the Spanish Revolution. So the Congress of Verona have to do with Spain. So there was a revolution which took place in Spain. And so at this Congress, it became clear that the collapse of the Congress system was certain. So they met at the Congress of Verona as to agree, or as to discuss about the revolution that were happening in Spain. But then what happened at this Congress made it clear that the Congress system was going to collapse. So I'm going to explain how exactly it happened, how exactly the Congress of Verona took place. So an offer by Russia to suppress revolution in Spain was rejected. So Russia volunteered, no, I want to suppress revolution in Spain. And then Russia was said, no. The other members of the Congress system denied for Russia to suppress the revolution that were taking place in Spain. And so after Russia, it was said that France, after realizing that Russia had been denied, France itself then was the one which went on to suppress the revolution in Spain, and restored the Ferdinand the Seventh to his position as a king with his full powers. So we are done with the Congress system. So now I'm going to explain what exactly led to the collapse of the Congress system. So the first thing you need to put in your mind, what happened, the final blow of the Congress system, we see that the Greek War of Independence led to the collapse of the Congress system. But how exactly did this happen? So the Greek War of Independence was the final blow to the Congress system. Nicholas I was determined to assist the Greece in fighting against Turkey. So what happened is the Congress system, on the Tropau Protocol, they agreed that a revolution was only going to come from above. Only people of the high class were the one who were said, no, it's okay for you to revolt. But the poor people were not allowed to revolt. So what happened is that on this, it is said that the Tsar had died. So after the Tsar had died, he was replaced by a guy known as Nicholas I. So what happened is that Nicholas I saw that the Greeks were revolting, and he went to the Greeks and said, no, I can assist you. Yet the Greeks were revolting from below, which they did not agree at the Congress system. So what happened is that Russia itself went on and helping Greece to revolt against Turkey. So Britain and France did not wait to see Russia acting alone. Thus they assisted Russia. So Britain and France also assisted Russia. Thereby they broke their promise which they made under the Congress system, that we only allow the revolution to come from above, not from below. So they helped the revolution from above, or people of the lower class to revolt against people of the higher class. So this led to the collapse of the Congress system. So still on the Greek War of Independence, Turkey was defeated at Navarino Bay in 1827. Sorry. So another reason for the collapse of the Congress system, it is known as the British non-intervention policy. So as you know, Lord Castlereagh followed a policy whereby he didn't want Britain to be dragged in the affairs of other countries. So Lord Castlereagh, he represented Britain, so he didn't want to intervene in any other countries. So that on its own led to the collapse of the Congress system, because other countries wanted to intervene in matters of other countries. So it led to the collapse of the Congress system. So we also see selfishness among its members led to the collapse of the Congress system. How exactly? It is said that on the Axela Chapel, we see that Britain put forward the measures, or put forward the idea to abolish slave trade. So this was not because Britain saw slave trade as something that was bad, but it is because Britain by that time it had gained enough from slave trade. So as Britain have gained enough from slave trade, he went to his fellow friends and said, no, we no longer want to do with slave trade. So that on its own showed that led to the collapse of the Congress system, because it led to suspicion amongst members. So we also have different ideologies. Different ideologies led to the collapse of the Congress system. How exactly? It is said that as we can see, countries like Russia, countries like Austria, they were absolute monarchs, and we have Britain. Britain was a constitutional monarchy. So what happened is that absolute monarchs, they were against, so absolute monarchy, they didn't want to intervene in other countries' policy, because in their country they knew that no revolution was going to occur, because they ruled under the constitution. So we also see that we have absolute monarchs. Absolute monarchs, they wanted to intervene in matters of other countries, because they were afraid of the spread of revolutionary ideas, because they were absolute monarchs, they suppressed the people. So it was sure and clear that the revolution somehow were going to occur. So I'm going to explain about the successes. I'm just going to give you 2 successes, and then I'm going to conclude the video. So if you're enjoying, subscribe to my YouTube channel. So now on the successes of the Congress system, we see that on the Congress system, members of the Congress system, I would say the Allied powers, they managed to remove the soldiers on the French borders, which made sure that France paid its reparation. This was because France had fully paid its reparations. So when they removed the the soldiers from the French borders, it is said that France started to feel like, no, I'm now being respected now. No, I now have the trust of these people. So it prevented French future aggression. That on its own is a success of the Congress system. Another success of the Congress system is that on the Congress system, it is said that France was made a member or a big power again in Europe. So that on its own, we can see that it also prevented future French aggression as it was put close. So thank you guys for watching. That's all on this video. Don't forget to stay tuned.